Hello everyone, this is Serious Trivia and welcome back to the 5-part series covering the skills tree of generic characters in the game. This video is part 4 and will be covering the Sentinel class. If you missed any of our previous part covering the Champion, Commander, and Vanguard classes, please don't forget to go back and check those out. Now let's jump straight into the skill tree. All generic Sentinels will have the same skill tree as the one shown here. You always start with one of these 3 active or passive abilities at level 1, and an additional skill that is linked by the lines to your starting skill. After that, you'll gain a new skill point with each level up, and you can unlock any new skills as long as they're connected to existing skills. Since your character's build will always be anchored by which of these 3 active or passive abilities you start with, we'll start the guide by focusing on these 3 skills. In the order that they appear on the skill tree, we have Adamant Resolve, Tenacity of Steel, and Tempered Deflection. Adamant Resolve is an active ability that buffs all nearby units within a 50-meter range by giving them plus 50% melee evasion for 20 seconds. This can be useful after your units have engaged in melee combat with the enemy, as it will prevent a lot of damage. It can also be used during duels or around ally duels to help increase their dodge chances for your generals. Next, we have my favorite Sentinel ability in Tenacity of Steel. This is a passive buff that essentially ramps up your Sentinel's damage the longer they remain in combat. This ability is what makes Sentinels great duelists. Use their low damage to fool AI opponents into duels that they otherwise have no shots of winning. However, against AI Sentinels, you should also check to see if they have this skill before agreeing to any duels. Avoid duels with opponents that have this skill and instead just attack them on the battlefield. Lastly, we have Tempered Deflection, the little cousin of the Commander's Stone Bulwark. It is half the cooldown of Stone Bulwark for half the range block chance. But this skill is quite useful, as you can boost Spear Guards and Axe Bands from 45% range block chance to 95% range block chance, which is the highest range block chance you can have before the enemy range units stop firing at you. So it is essentially better than Stone Bulwark, which adds 100% range block chance in terms of baiting out enemy archer ammos. Now that we have discussed these 3 active and passive abilities, let's continue by looking at the 6 skills attached to them, as shown here. Now, these 6 skills are all expertise skills, in that they provide only expertise stats. The 2 skills in the middle are also Sentinel unique skills, while the other 4 you can find in other classes. Once again, in the order they appear on the skill tree, these 6 skills are Zeal, Understanding, Bravery, Diligence, Precision, and Intuition. Let's dig into these. Zeal adds 10% armor-piercing melee damage to own army. It also increases the Sentinel's own melee attack rate by 40%. Now, the extra armor-piercing damage is always welcome, but the key contribution of Zeal is making your general an even better duelist by amping his attack rate by a whopping 40%. Next, we have Understanding. It unlocks Industrial Exploitation, which boosts industry income, and increases 1 rank for all new recruit if you're the faction leader, heir, or prime minister. Next, we have Bravery. Bravery provides charge negate for own retinue. This is a key skill for Sentinels, as they have no access to higher tier spear units, so they rely on charge negate to protect the lines from charging enemies. Obviously, negating charge damage isn't as strong as Charge Reflect, which reflects the charge damage back onto the unit, but it is sufficient enough to make Sentinels capable replacements for champions as your infantry portion of the army. Bravery also enables your retinues to become immune to fear and terror, which can help keep them fighting for longer without losing morale to these abilities. Next, we have Diligence, which increases melee evasion for melee infantry in your own retinue by 5. It also adds 25 bonus experience for units per season if your Sentinel is faction leader, heir, or prime minister. Both of these are okay buffs. Next, we have precision, which increase ranged armor piercing damage by 10% for the whole army, and adds 10% range firing rate if the Sentinel is the commanding general of that army. This skill is mainly to support your strategist in the army, which can be impactful if you gear your own armies towards range units. Lastly, we have intuition, which adds 25% chance to evade capture post-battle and boosts industry income by 15% if you're an administrator. Now that we talked about all these expertise skills, let's turn our focus onto the other 6 skills that's on the Sentinel skill tree. These 6 skills are perception, intensity, stability, composure, patience, and scholarship. As you can see from the color code and stats being boosted, these are skills taken from other classes. Perception and stability both provide authority, so they are commander skills. Composure and scholarship both provide cunning, so they're strategist skills. Intensity is a vanguard skill, and patience is a champion skill. If you have seen any of the previous part of this series, you know what's up. But if you haven't, please know that every class has 3 active and passive abilities, 6 skills focused on their primary stat, and 6 skills borrowed from other classes. We will not be discussing these skills in great detail here, as we did for the 6 expertise skills earlier, because we don't want to repeat ourselves here since these skills will all be discussed as part of their own class. For example, we have already talked about perception and stability in part 2 when we covered commanders. So instead, we'll be taking a more detailed look at all the different buffs a Sentinel can receive from all their skills, sorted by different roles. Here I have listed all the buffs Sentinels can receive as commanding officer in the army, as the leader, heir, or prime minister, as the administrator of a commandery, and others, which include items like enabling abilities, own army boost, own retinue boost, or just buffs to the Sentinel himself. Looking at the list, we can first see that Sentinels provide a ton of buffs and enable a ton of skills for your army, much like a commander. Combined with their high melee evasion from their primary expertise stat and their role as great duelist, the Sentinel excels on the battlefield. Here I've provided a full build that specializes the Sentinel just for the battlefield. Although the battlefield is a role that fits the Sentinel well, they have the most value in the early game as administrator, as you build up your commanderies and economy. The key here isn't any skills, but the stat. As a Sentinel, your primary stat is expertise, and expertise grants you construction cost reduction as administrator. This discount can range from 20% at 100-point expertise to around 40% at around 160-point expertise. So utilizing your high expertise Sentinels as your administrator can power your economy to new heights. It also helps that Sentinels have 2 key skills of providing 40% to commerce income and 15% to industry income. Here I have highlighted the relevant skill for Sentinels to be good administrators. Lastly, the most common use for Sentinel is actually as court nobles for assignments. Other than the 2 skills unlocked here, which can boost industry income by 30% and counter corruption by 50%, all Sentinels start with supervised construction, which provides 10% construction discount, minus 1 turn of construction time, and saves 25% on building upkeeps. I have highlighted the necessary skills, and I suggest you to start your low-level Sentinels as assignment characters to build up their level and build up your commanderies. Once they gain a few levels and gain some key skills, you can gear them to be a general in the army or administrator for one of your commanderies. I hope you find this guide helpful, and if you enjoyed the video, please remember to like, subscribe, and comment below to support this channel. The last part of this series will be covering strategists and will drop tomorrow, so stay tuned for that. Hope you have an awesome day. Bye!